Of tranche 1 of the Undercover Policing Inquiry. That's the end of tranche 1, in fact, isn't it?
Oh my God!
Yeah, wow, we've finally ended tranche 1. There was not a great deal said in the last the supplementary questions, apart from the fact that they're saying that they usually had a beer when they met, which was contradicting what
the guy yesterday said.
Said, yeah.
But only one beer to go with the meal.
Oh yeah,
not more, and not like some of us have like 3 beers during the meal.
Who would do that, eh?
I
Bastards.
don't know. I don't know.
But yeah, I'm glad it's over. I'm joined with Evelyn from the Undercover Research Group again. What do you make of the day generally?
What should I say? Well, sort of repetition of yesterday, like how many shades of grey are there? Like how many ways are there to say you don't remember? And he was like, he had a very convenient memory loss. Like he lied through teeth, let's be honest. There were certain things that he really knew, and there was stuff that he just... even when reports had his signature, he said he didn't have any memory of it.
Yeah.
And like he's, at least he's been given the chance to go through all the reports, and that must have brought back at least something.
Yeah.
And how many meetings did you have with the security service? Can't remember. I was sort of tempting to go back to the list of meetings there were, and how often they went, to have lunch afterwards. But okay, it may not have been him.
Yeah, it fucking was him though, wasn't it? I mean, literally, so many of them have been disgusting liars, but fuck me if he didn't take the biscuit. I mean, again, recency biased. I've been called out before for going, he was the worst each time. I'm like,
yeah, but
because it's just happened, and I'm like, he was the worst liar I've ever heard in my life. And then it's like, well, he's the worst liar I've heard since the last one. It was a terrible liar.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. Yeah. But it's like it's a shame because I must say I before this all started, I was kind of hopeful that we would get to know a bit more, some more insights, because you could say okay, an undercover officer only does his stint, for 3 years or 4 years or maybe longer. These guys would have a bit of overview. They were higher up in the tree, as they say, and they would be the main picture. And this is sort of a summary of the entire session of hearings. Is also that. It was just, it was a unit that was there, it existed, and the continuation of its existence was everything.
Yeah.
So it had to remain secret. Nobody who came in was asking any questions. Even the managers didn't get instructions, but just learned on the job. They did everything the way it had been done before. Nobody had any second thoughts about things. Questions were not appreciated. So this kind of, and the threat of criticism or the threat of embarrassment, a word that we've heard a lot of times.
A lot of times, and it's like a catch-all term, embarrassment, to describe everything. It feels like the embarrassment of parents of dead children finding out the identity's been stolen.
It's not the embarrassment. It's not the grief to the parents, but the embarrassment to the unit.
Right.
And I think we were talking about this before. There is this sort of psychological effect that if you work in a unit like this that is very secret, and there is criticism or the threat of criticism even, you sort of join together, you join arms, and you go it's us against the rest, and it has to remain secret, and therefore, and this has huge consequences because we talked several times about undercover officers having had relationships with people they targeted, women they targeted, so they deceived them basically. They had a sort of a green card to do that, a free card, free ticket, because they knew, there was some kind of don't know, don't tell.
Yeah,
and there was also, they knew that because the secrecy of the STS was paramount, they would never be, there would never be any disciplinary action, because that would imply that the special branch or the Met or the Prime Minister would get to know about the unit as if they didn't, because of course they did.
Yeah.
But that was one of them. I think yesterday, said, what would happen? Like what would be the biggest embarrassment? And I was like, being shouted at in the press, being criticized by the press, and that was sort of the biggest thing, the biggest danger. So this unit just continued to exist because it existed, and it didn't even have, like it just hoovered up intelligence, totally, like sort of putting the blame somewhere else. It was not up to us what was important or not. Our clients, the Home Office, or no, not Home Office, the
Home Office was part of
Home Office, the
A8,
the Public Order Department of the Metropolitan Police, and the Secret Service.
Yeah,
they were the clients, and even if you would just get your file. Well, if the reports were kept by the Security Service, like that is one thing that came out. Most of the material that is being disclosed comes from the Security Service archives. They've kept all this. And we also know that if, like, there's lists of people mentioned in reports that will be redacted. Some of them have registry files in a special branch, some have not. But we also know that it takes about 3, 4, 5 mentions, and you get your own file opened on you. So so they claim that it was also of importance to know that people weren't involved, or that they didn't have any, disturbing public order plans. That was of importance too, but that would still get you mentioned.
Yeah.
Eventually leading to a file. So this is, like I really don't like the Stasi comparison, but you get, and not much, we don't know, but not much seems to have been done with all this information, unlike in the United States in the 70s and 80s, where they spied on black power groups and El Salvador Committee when things were harsh there. They really made an effort to undermine those groups.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and that is we don't know about it here, but we haven't seen any evidence of it.
Well, I mean, I would say, like, in some cases, like particularly like the American Indian movement, they killed large numbers.
And also, like Martin Luther King, the fact that he was a womanizer was, made public to undermine his status and may have led to him being killed. And Fred Hampton, of course, Black Panthers. Yeah, the CIA and FBI did worse things than here. We don't want to compare that. But the COINTELPRO program was based on a similar amount of intelligence gathering, only they took it one step further and sort of did stuff. And that hasn't been, maybe the stuff, like it has been leaked to employers. The blacklisting, of course, is one clear example. And in fact, we don't really know what has been done with this information. It's also been leaked to employers or to,
I mean, there's also the thing of like kind of the role of which undercover officers, whilst they were in the groups, affected the culture of the groups they were within.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, like the dysfunctional nature. Sorry to any members of the Socialist Workers' Party, but the dysfunctional nature of the SWP, I think, is largely influenced by the fact that it's had so many undercover officers within it, and particularly so close to the Central Committee, and that might explain why it's made some of the very strange choices it has politically over the years.
Yeah, but they would have to look at it themselves, because we can't.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe the sheer amount of undercover officers that have infiltrated the party over the years will make them realize, stuff happened. And also, for instance, like the evidence we've seen about the Revolutionary Communist Party,
the Workers' Revolutionary Party.
Yeah. So they had, the raid on their schooling.
White Meadows, the Red House.
White Meadows, the Red House. That went along with an article in the newspapers. So there was information leaked to undermine groups or to paint them in the worst colors. So there's plenty of evidence there, in fact. So I'm sort of going back on saying nothing happened with the information, because it did.
It did. Lots of things happened with it.
Yeah. That was a bit too fast. Yeah.
I mean, so it's been overall the last 2 weeks have been interesting enough. I do. How do you feel that the inquiry itself has handled proceedings?
It's, well, what can I say? Meeting has put some very good questions.
Right.
It was actually, he looked more alive to things and more present than when he was in his home in front of his, like in his big mansion somewhere.
Yeah.
On the outskirts of London. I think the inquiry legal team, well, specifically Barr, really did well today, for instance. Like he was, some did better than others.
Yeah, maintaining enthusiasm throughout the day today was a real challenge, because I mean, quite frankly, dealing with someone who's just answering everything with like no, can't remember, don't know, don't remember.
Yeah, taxing. Like some you think, okay, they might really not remember it.
I didn't think him for a fucking second. Like.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, so it is very difficult, like, and it begs the question, what's going to happen in the next sessions? Apart from that, they're 2 years away. Is that, of course, the managers will be younger, the undercovers will be younger, so that's that memory thing,
Yeah, I mean, the likes of Bob Lambert, who should be being called, and John Dines, who should be being called, though he's abroad, obviously, so whether he'll actually turn up. But, the people like that, you kind of hope that they couldn't really get away with saying they didn't remember.
No.
So that'll be interesting.
I don't know. We're going to see. We're going to see how far we get with this inquiry.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us with these videos. There will be a Twitter Spaces tonight at 7 p.m. It would be really great if you could attend. Hopefully it'll be the biggest one we've done so far, with plenty of input from people who've been following the inquiry proceedings over the last 2 weeks. You don't need a Twitter account to listen, but you do need to use your phone's Twitter app in order to speak. Thanks for joining us. There'll be lots of recaps about the last 2 weeks put together fairly soon. Look out for them in all the usual places. The hashtag SpyCops on Twitter will find most of them. Otherwise, the SpyCops info group on Facebook, or we've got a Telegram channel if you want to follow that if you're on Telegram. But yeah, cheers. Oh, check out spycops.info. Thanks.